Sitaram, once again, courtesy Sankhya TV, we bring you another edition of SWA DHARMA. Today, it's a continuation from our last session where we talk about the infinite, the Mahavishnu, who manifests in finite forms, so for a better understanding, for a better platform for us to relate and how it will impact positively on our lives. So we now move to the celestials. Having talked about the major gods last time, we talk about the celestials, among whom the Lord is Lord Indra. Lord Indra, among his portfolios, he also is the deity who influences rainfall. Now, Indra is a title. Like we have Prime Minister or President, that is what Indra is, it's a title. So, in the course of time, that the person who has been elected is known as the Indra of that era. As we will know from Ramayana, in Gautam and Ahilya Katha, Indra, the current Indra, had stepped in Gautam's pathway to provoke his anger, because Gautam was well qualified to become the succeeding Indra. So Indra is a title. And the prime minister, as it were, of the gods is known as Indra. Once that person occupies that seat, among the other things, the happenings of nature, he influences his rainfall. So Indra is also important in his role governing the various directions which are listed here. Significantly is we also talk about above and below. We'll come to that in a while. Indra, as we see, rests in the east, and the chart is self-explanatory, but the importance of this comes to the fore when we are making journeys. It doesn't have to be a special journey, regular journeys, a journey to school, a journey to work, a journey to the supermarket. Because in all these journeys, especially in these times, we are at risk. So it is always prudent that when we are heading in a journey, for instance, if we are going south, Yamraj resides to the south, so a short mantra, Om Shri Yamaya Namaha, will cut it. What we can point out at this point in time, on June 24th this year, 2018, the Vidyalaya will be doing a workshop at Diwali Nagar site between 1:30 and 4 p.m. It's free of charge, but the theme is the 5 major forms of worship. But in that, one will be given a handout. Everybody will be given a handout free of charge. Self-explanatory, the workshop is to put it in motion, but in that, we will be discussing how we create a short mantra for any deity, male or female. So, if one is going to the south, you just take it, it counts, it augurs well for that journey. It is not an isolated fact. You might find that if this is the 13th phase of the moon on that day that we are going south, and it's on a Thursday, that's a double whammy, that's a double danger period. We don't know that as a layperson, but the mere recitation of that mantra could cause a stay of hand in any pending disaster that we might meet. So it is very, very important. What we'd like to pass on before we move further, above, whenever we go in a trip on by aeroplane, Brahma Ji should be worshipped. Or his name should be called, as we sit in the plane, his name should be called Om Shri Vidhate Namaha. Again, the workshop will talk about these short mantras. And, you know, below, you go away, we don't have subways down here except for the sandwich subway. We're talking about, you know, subways where you have your ticket trains and so forth. As you descend below the level of the earth, they have these mantras, in this case, Anantadev, whom we reverently take, and that is a guard, that is a protection. So, we now come to the 12 Adityas. So, we are talking about these finer aspects of Bhagwan. We mentioned, we touched on this in our last session about the 12 projections of Sujarain, and just to make the point that here we will see Indra, and that's the point we were making, that at one point in time Suryanarayan Swami, sun god, occupied the position of the Indra among the devatas. It is a title, and there he was called Indra. This is this month of JHTA. This is the form of Suryanarayan that should be worshipped. So that if we have our Surya mantras, a simple one might be Om Grihi Suryaya Namaha, just at it, Om Shri Mitraya Namaha, and during the course of that month, that adds so much potency to the blessings of Suryanarayan Swami, of acknowledging him in this form. It is not only about the recitation of the mantra. One sits in satsang, one gets an inkling of what we are saying, why we are saying, and how it imparts and impacts positively in our life. Now, tarry a while to make the point that all these we have been talking about since the last session can be accomplished. The recitation can be accomplished in less than 5 minutes. A daily prayer, which, as you say, Sankhya TV airs every morning at 6 a.m. And all that we have talked about and expanded here, that seems, a huge volume, could all be condensed in a short, deft prayer. We move on now to another group of the manifestations of Bhagwan, which are the 11 Rudras. The 11 Rudras are, as we have said, certain category of 11 projections of Bhagwan Shiva. Bear in mind, Bhagwan Shiva has projected fully as Hanuman. Bear in mind, he is projected as Anantadev, as Lakshman. These are all projections, but they are not in the category of the 11 projections. They have a special portfolio themselves. One that quickly comes to mind is that as Hindus, we are told to touch base with God, to do worship 3 times a day. Now, if we are a school child or a work person, we're not at home, then how do we enact praying to God at lunchtime? Well, it's simple. The food that we have, and it has to be sattvic food, it has to be veggie, non-alcohol, then that becomes prasad. And we make it prasad by just saying, offering the mantra which is listed in our for 11 Rudras in our daily prayer structure. We just say that line before we have our meal, and that now is converted to prasad. So that is an act of puja that we could fit in on a lunchtime basis. In the morning we can take care of prayer at home, on evening when we return home. So as Hindus, we are intact with those 3 forms of prayer. Among the 11 Rudras, 2 names that pop to mind, 2 names that come to the fore are Ahir Budnyaha and Ajpad. Those 2 of the 11 Rudras find themselves in an important role in our lives, because when we talk lower down in this segment about one's ISHTA Deva, those 2 referred to are 2 ISHTAs, 2 guardian angels of 27 possible guardian angels that takes care of mankind. So they are very important. We come now to another category of the gods, the 8 Vasus. The 8 Vasus, whose mother is Ganga Mata, which brings us to the point that the phase of the moon that Ganga Jayanti, the coming of Ganga to the world, happened, occurs both in the Adhik Maas, which might be considered in 1 month, and they have the following month. Now, obviously, from our previous quote in our previous segment, we forego performing important acts, puja, etc. in the Adhik Maas. So Ganga Jayanti ought to be celebrated on June 22nd, 2018, shortly after 7:10 a.m. The phase of the moon is in sync with what is recommended in the Shastra. So she produced the 8 Vasus. Among their roles, they are the gods who prevail at breakfast time. So that one would, before having breakfast, we have many prayers, Haridata, Haridbhokta, etc. We have Turyam Vastu Govindam, etc. A short prayer, Om Shri Vasubhyo Namaha, short prayer. But once that food is up to mark, and we explain what we mean by up to mark, that food now becomes prasad. The mere recitation of that short mantra before partaking of our breakfast converts that food now to prasad. And what a high act of puja. As we know, when we gather for puja, the 16 forms of worship, the pinnacle of such offerings is the offering of prasad. So we have converted our meal into the highest offering to God. if we especially call the name of the Vasus at breakfast time. So breakfast is the Vasus, lunchtime was the Rudras, and the 12 projections of Surjanarayan Swami, the Adityas, if we take their name reverently at dinner time, that too equates to offering prasad. We come now to the ASHWINI Kumaras, who are the twin physicians of the God. So just before we talk about the pediatrician of the God, Shashti Mata, here we come to the, she hands over now to the older populace. As we cross the teens, these are the physicians, these are the doctors of human beings, not only the gods, of the human beings. They are the sons of the sun god, the twin sons, and they're very important about health. About, we are diabetic, we have to know how to control the intake of sugar. We're hypertensive, we have to know how to control and manage the intake of salt, etc., etc. ASHWINI Kumar Katha are best practices, really and truly, virtually speaking, in health management. So it's not about just worshipping the ASHWINI Kumars. Their blessings point us to the necessary literature, to the necessary personnel who will guide us on how best to manage our health. Because, we can never divorce medicine or any noble profession from spirituality. It's a marriage. The danger is that sometimes we make it a marriage of convenience. We listen to what the gods say, we do otherwise. We listen to what the others say, and we don't rivet it in what the Shastras and the gods declare as sound. So these are the ASHWINI Kumars. Next, we come to DAKSHA PRAJAAPATI. Now, if we add the 12 Adityas, the 11 Rudras, the 8 Vasus, we count the ASHWINI Kumars as one because they are twins, and we add DAKSHA PRAJAAPATI, we'll get the number 33. Many times we read in loose, slack translations that Hindus have 33 gods and so forth. This is what we mean. These are the finite, major finite aspects of the infinite. They are 33 number. We have just identified them, categorized them, stratified them. The last of these 33 is DAKSHA PRAJAAPATI. He is one of the sons of Brahma, and his importance is very influential as far as dynasties are concerned. If we want the rich traditions of a lineage to be carried forward, DAKSHA PRAJAAPATI has to be worshipped at the hour before Garbhodhan Sanskar. Our first entry into this world is at the hour of conception, and he is one of the deities ought to be brought to mind. His katha ought to be brought to mind, how we inculcate in that babe who is now an embryo, who will become an infant one day and then grow to a young being, how we inculcate the rich traditions of the lineage. And remember, we have to lead by example. We can't be asking the children to do such, not to smoke, and we smoking. It doesn't work that way. So when we read DAKSHA PRAJAAPATI Katha, it is all about lineage, dynasty, and rich traditions, and how they are passed on to others. Next, we come to PRITHVEE Mata, Mother Earth. She is a projection of Mother Lakshmi. Another projection of Mother Lakshmi is Dakshina Devi. These are all important projections. Dakshina Devi, mind you, it's not what the word sounds like. Sometimes when we do good things, the student studies, the student expects success. That is the Dakshina we are talking about. A person works very well in an environment as an employee, they expect to be put in charge at some point in time. That is Dakshina Devi, to make it happen and to bring comfort until it so happens. All the same, this is yet another projection of Mother Lakshmi, which is Mother Earth. An easy, classic way of incorporating her in worship is as we enter the prayer room. And we'll see, sometimes you look in films and we see those who have studied at the feet of a guru will bow, will take their finger and touch the earth and touch it to the forehead, or touch the floor and touch it to the forehead. And it's all in reverence to Mother Earth. When we do normal puja, before Ganesh Baba is Pratham Puj, should be worshipped first. But before his worship, we do the worship of earth, because where are we going to put Ganesh Baba? So she is recognized first as we enter our puja room, because it's on her holy, pious soul, body, that everything rests. And she is indeed a mother, providing us again with food, shelter, and clothing. We move now to the Saptarishis, very important. They are Kashyap, Atri, Vasishta, Vishwamitra, Bharadwaj, Jamdagni, Gautam. In this era, in each era, these 7 rishis, there are different groups of rishis. These are the ones relevant to our current age. Their blessings enlighten us in the areas of philosophy, science, and mathematics. That is not all flowery language. That is riveted. That is anchored in Puranic history. For instance, Bharadwaj. It is said if one calls the 7 rishis, including Bharadwaj, one will always be sustained. There will always be a morsel of food to survive and get by because of his grace. How does it happen? By taking his name with devotion. His blessings will point us in a way where you give a man an apple, you feed him for the day. You teach a man how to grow the apple, you feed him for life. So Bharadwaj Muni will point us in a way where for our sustenance, we don't have to ask this one and depend on this one. We can get up and help ourselves. Sometimes we might have a hobby, a skill that could be developed or that could be channeled in an area where our sustenance is well taken care of. If even that sustenance means we have to go to the grocery and buy the food, at least we'll get into a job where we can manage the budget and manage to feed ourselves and the family. And that is just one iota of when we talk about the blessings of these rishis. They provide us in all these areas, the science of feeding ourselves, as you say, Bharadwaj, that is his domain, his portfolio. Next we come to the Panch Kanya. Ahilya, Draupadi, Tara, Kunti, Mandori. Just as a gentle reminder, all these names are taken in the morning prayer aired by Sankhya TV at 6 a.m. All done under 5 minutes. And they count for so much because by taking these names in devotion, with devotion, one gets the art of forbearance. All these 5 Kanyas had their challenges and they retained their composure and were able to last out the period of that challenge. And at the end of the day, the world heralded, the world announced, the world praised that forbearance which they showed. That when we too have our little portions and little small areas where we challenge and we lose our composure, we lose our form through the graces of Hilya, Draupadi, Tara, Kunti, Mandori. And when we examine their katha, as you say, it's not only about reciting the names, it's getting into the history, the take under which background they operated on. We'll see from each of these backgrounds, they suffered the sort of challenges, they were pressured in the sort of challenges that could be taken as a whole and divided into 5. Any one of the challenges we face, they have faced, and how they came out of it. So very important to keep in us the act of forbearance, because life has its fair share of challenges. We move now to the one's guardian angel. One's ISHTA is one's guardian angel. It may be male or female. And it is not dictated by, our household worships Shiv Baba. So everybody, our ISHTA in this house is Shiv Baba. That is good. And no one is asking anybody to abandon whom we have been told is the main god or goddess of worship in a household. Keep that. Keep it alive. Keep it well kindled. But more to the point, one has got to learn who is one ISHTA. And that is dictated by the time of birth. And there are 27 ISHTAs, some male, some female. So every human being will have one of these 27 ISHTA. And by simple deduction, many people might have the same ISHTA. It does not mean that they have the same personalities. This is just about who is the guardian angel of such a person. For example, we hear about Parvandev. We hear about Anjani, the mother of Hanumanji. So how did Anjani have her ISHTA, the god of the wind? because she was born in a constellation known as Swati Nakshatra. And once you are born there, that is your ISHTA. Now, where one is born and their ISHTA tells a bit about the person's personality. But there are little differences in one's character build, which when one elaborates on the patra, we'll see the difference. But one's ISHTA will give a good idea what will be the forte of such a person's personality. So Anjani MAATAA tapped into her. She was a devout worshipper of her ISHTA Pabandeyu. And look what happened. So powerful is the ISHTA. She asked him for a son of such a dimension. And she got it because she was a profound worshipper of her ISHTA Dev. So ISHTA Dev is important. If one doesn't know one's ISHTA, get to your Pandit, get to your JTC, find out who is your ISHTA, and he will give you a date when you will start, who is your ISHTA, and a date when you start the mantra. The next available date for any kind of new mantra is June 24th, 2018. It's a Sunday, anytime between 10:15 a.m. and 4 p.m. A long stretch when we have any new mantra, whether it's an ISHTA mantra, whether the prayer structure aired by the station on the morning, we want to make it part of our daily practice, we can do it within that time. It's a good day to Jagawi, to awaken a mantra. And finally, we come to Guru, the relevance of not only Guru, a Sadguru. If one has, as we say, Christian, one got Diksha Guru, and one's Guru has passed on, what do we do? If one has a Guru who is alive, and that Guru thinks that certain facets of Sanatana Dharma might not be his strength, and he can refer us to someone who is exemplary and who is knowledgeable in that area. In the lifetime for Guru, there could also be a Sadguru. There is no transgression there. But let's let the Lord pronounce on that. In Kiskindha Khan, the 4th volume, the 4th section of Ramayana, this is Sri Ram speaking. Bhumi Jiva Sankula Rahe. He tells Lakshman, he tells the world, that the earth, Bhumi, was teeming with all sorts of insects and small creepy crawlies, etc. Gaye Sharad Ritu, he says, but Lakshman, Sharad Ritu, autumn has now set in. The rainy season stopped and autumn has now set in. And what's the consequence? Sadguru Milate Jahi Jimi Sanchai Brahma Samudai. He says it's just like the Advent. Autumn, the Sadguru comes like the advent of autumn. And just as all the creepy crawlies and insects and so forth disappear, so too the creepy crawlies in the form of doubts and of confused intellect, Sanchaya and Brahma, they disappear with the advent of a Sadguru. So a Sadguru has a rightful place either in the absence of the Guru may not be necessarily passed on from this life, he may have migrated, he may be not available for a protracted period of time for whatever reason. There is, by his permission, a Sadguru. Or by our own, we can rationalize and know who might be a source of knowledge, and that becomes the Sadguru. And the Guru and Sadguru, they have this key role to play in our lives. They put together. So when we're doing the prayer structure in the morning, we'll see Guru coming right up, high up in the order. It is because each of these deities that have been placed here, they have their pecking order according to whatever potency they have to inject in our life. But as far as the structure goes, this is how it's structured. Once again, the Vidyalaya thanks you for your audience, and we will meet and greet again, as we say, next Thursday, usual time, 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m., where we'll continue on SWA Dharma. Thank you. Sitaram.